Welcome. Welcome to our Transformation Literacy Conference. Welcome to everybody around the world. Great that you're here. And I hope we are going to have really very interesting conversations today about our session's topic, and this is enabling structures. So I am Petra Kuenkel. I am the founder and executive director of the Collective Leadership Institute, and I am also a member of the Club of Rome. Today, we are looking at structures, and sure, for us, particularly in Europe, it is a very, very difficult time today, these days, the entire last week. And as Collective Leadership Institute, we stand in solidarity with Ukraine, and we stand in solidarity with democracies. And this is exactly the topic of today, not necessarily democracies, but the issue of power structures versus enabling structures. So this is a very important moment where we believe that collaboration is more important than ever, and we need to scale collaboration in a way that we all become transformative literate, and that we all are able to really shift our societies into sustainability. And one of the most important parts for sustainability is obviously also to shift power structures and to shift structures into what we call enabling structures. So just a word about the Collective Leadership Institute. We are an international NGO. We have been founded in 2005, and you can have more information about us in the chat. We believe that sustainability issues can only be worked for or overcome together in partnerships, in multi-stakeholder partnerships, in networks, and in an effort that crosses the different sectors of society, where private sector, public sector, NGOs, civil society organizations, communities, and research institutions work together. So this is at the core of our session today. And in that way, I would like to remind us that yesterday was the day when, exactly 50 years ago, the Club of Rome report, Limits to Growth, was published. And in this report, it's quite amazing, 50 years ago, what kind of future was predicted, what kind of warning was issued. Because at that time, the researchers, one of them, Donella Meadows, one of the co-authors, said, if we don't change our behavior in the world, if we don't change our economic activities, if we don't focus on different things, then we are going to run into trouble. So she advocated for a new purpose, for a paradigm shift. And so amazingly, her input in this book was also to talk about a vision, to talk about that we really have a choice about how we co-create future together, that we are able, if we take a different turn in history, we are really able to do things differently. So that needs to be done in collaboration, in partnerships, in structures that are enabling us to really transform. And what's so interesting that about, I think, 20 years later, another member of the Club of Rome published a book that is also widely known in the world, maybe less known, but it has similarly been pretty much ignored. It's a book by Riane Eisler. It's called The Chalice and the Blade. And also she made predictions from a different point of view. She said, if we don't overcome societies with extreme power structures, if we don't move into societies with checks and balances, then we are not going to be able to move into a bright future. So I recommend to really reread both books. It's amazing what they say about the situation today. Now, if we look at the issue of enabling structures, then what is so clear is that if we want to move towards sustainability, we need to loosen some of the structures that we have. And it could be partly bureaucracies, it could be partly silo mentality, it could be partly, let's say, structures that are not conducive, that are structures in the mind that bring us into continuing with an extractive mindset that is actually not really helping us. So if we look at enabling structures, then these enabling structures, we need, as I said, across sectors, we need them across actors, we need them in networks and partnerships. But interesting enough, we also need them within institutions. So it is a huge effort to really say, what are the ways of collaborating together that really enable us to move in a different direction. So that makes it so interesting to ask ourselves, what are structures that help us organize collective stewardship? And collective stewardship in this context means that there are many people, but also institutions, or within institutions, different departments that make a very clear decision to move into a different future. And that takes a lot of action. That is not something that can be done within days, not even weeks, and sometimes not even years. It is a step that needs to be done continuously. So it means we have to continuously work together in a different way. We have to find ways of dialoguing with each other. We have to negotiate, and we have to repurpose our intentions, sometimes repurpose the purpose of companies. So what I think is important for today is that we will look at different examples how enabling structures really are working step by step towards transformations. And the different parts of the program are very exciting. We have Supriya Singh and Nitz from the private sector. So this is really a conversation that we're going to have about how transformations happen in corporations, in the private sector, and because that's not an easy task. And we will then later on move to an example from, let's say, a public company, a regulator in Egypt, and look at what does it mean to create enabling structures for renewable energies. And we will then move into a completely different field. We will move to Tunisia and talk about what does it mean to organize among young people and to organize in a way that is some outdated structures, probably also bureaucratic and silo structures, but also the inability of youth to get access to these structures, how that could shift. And that's also a very, very interesting example. So with that, I would like to welcome Supriya Singh from India and Nitz from Germany. Welcome. So Supriya, you are at the moment, you are a PhD student in Germany. However, this is an exciting task. There is a background why you are doing this, because you have been for 7 years the global head of CSR Tata Communications. But interesting enough, before that, you have been working a lot in civil society. So you know very, very different worlds. And you are not only an expert in CSR, you're not only a seasoned leader of CSR in business, you have a passion for partnerships. And I also know you as having a passion for transformations, for not just getting things done in the sense of doing things, but in having an effect, having an impact on a company. So I would say you are a leading practitioner in the field of CSR, in the field of sustainability. So my quick first question to you, Supriya, is maybe the first question is, why did you shift from a civil society world that you had before Tata Communications into such a large industry?
Thanks, Petra. And before I start, really happy to be here, and thank you for having me as part of the Transformation Literacy Conference. Like you very kindly and warmly introduced me, I have spent considerable amount of time in the civil society, academia, and business. But the most, I think, drastic shift was when I shifted from civil society to the business sector and I joined Tata Group. The reason I think I joined was when I was in the civil society space in India, I worked a lot with different companies, and I was on the other side of the fence, which meant that I was part of an organization that was implementing the CSR and sustainability mandate of some of the largest, FMCG companies globally, largely in the space of education for sustainable development. And that's where I realized that the corporate sector had, of course, the financial wherewithal, but it also had the ability to influence community, influence society, and influence policy. So that was the first part where I really sort of got a taste of how it can influence things in a positive manner. And the second thing, which I was really inspired by, was the kind of people I met in the business sector. So we think of the business sector and we think of the big, bad evil, but there are some very well-intentioned people who are trying to create these enabling structure within the business to move the needle. And I thought, if they could do it, how interesting would it be for me, someone from the civil society, to join forces and work together and work in a partnership mode to create change in a country as complex as India.
And have you been disappointed? Or what was your biggest achievement at Tata Communications?
Not at all. Like I said, I think when we look at different systems, different units within the society and the different units within the system, business is one very important system that we need to work with. Like I said, I joined the business sector with the intention of influencing it for the better, which I realized it's not very easy and it takes a lot of time. But I think in my 7 years with Tata Communications, what I could manage, and when I look back, I feel one of my big moments was when I could actually see sustainability being integrated into the business strategy of the company. And that happened after a good 3-4 years. But that for me was a moment where I could sort of see how this augurs well for the future of the company, and not just in terms of what the company did for the community, but business as a whole.
Thanks, Supriya. So let's move to Tara. Tara Nitz. Tara, you are an expert in circular economy and also a sustainability expert. But you are in an area where some people would not expect people to think about circular economy. So that may be because they don't know about it, like me. It's in the chemical industry. And so I see you as a bit of a warrior within the private sector that really pushes forward the idea of like a global, let's say, a global change in the value chains and a global change in production and transparency frameworks and all the things that are absolutely needed in terms of the circular economy. And you have been strategizing company transformation for quite a while, and I guess it's not an easy task. So maybe as a quick question in the beginning, what was your biggest influence?
My biggest, first of all, thanks for having me. Well, my biggest, I think it's important, never on your own have an influence there. It's always like many people together, and thanks saying that I'm a warrior in this respect. Just one person in a big company, we have 17,000 companies, and I think that's the most important. To keep everyone on board when you want to develop new sustainability measures, when you want to achieve new targets, to bring everyone together, to leave no one behind. Often it comes with, in the first side, with competition to the traditional business and so on. And that's really the challenge there, to keep everyone together and to provide them the ground to jointly move in a company. But also that new targets, new initiatives, new strategies are accepted by the business, because you can have the best strategy signed off by the board. If the business does not follow suit, or if the business is not then able to make that real, because in the end of the day, it's not the corporate functions, it's not the board on its own, it's everyone together, every piece in the company, sales, marketing, who has to deliver. And
can you let us know a little bit more about what the company does, so that people we have an idea of what would it mean to move to circular economy in the chemical industry?
Yeah, thanks. So as you said, I'm working in the chemical industry. We are a plastic producer, a producer of high performance materials. And that already sets the challenge that we are facing when we want to move to circular economy. So our industry is more than 100 years old. And to say it very frankly, we are built on oil and gas. And this has to change. And value chains is not only us, it's the full value chain from the oil and gas field to the end product, which uses those materials, we as well, oil, gas, coal. And this has to change. Our vision, company vision, is to become fully circular, so we have to get rid of this throughout the value chain. This is the one part. This is also the corporate vision that we have to become fully circular. Just 2 days ago, my company announced also new climate targets to become climate neutral in scope 1 and 2 by 2035. So that adds a new level to this company vision. And yeah, in a nutshell, that means for us to totally abandon fossil fuels in production and move to renewable materials that we use.
And the company is behind that completely, or is there a big fight in the company?
No, we announced this vision to become fully circular 2 years ago. And that was actually built on, we worked in a program before, which provided the ground, so to say, what are the options for us to move towards circularity? What are the technical requirements? Of course, you have to take such decision on a solid basis. You have to enable also the management to take those decisions in good conscience, to know what's in front of us, so that those targets just not stay targets. And there, as I said at the beginning, I think it's super critical because they are so ambitious targets that no one feels left behind. I mean, that automatically affects the traditional business, and they have to know, on the one hand, they have to earn money. On the other hand, you tell them, yeah, but you have to earn your money in another way in the future, so you have to help them. Then I think in those discussions, it's super critical. So I'm a lawyer. I see the perspective, the moral perspective. Everyone sees the moral perspective to move there. But then there are the engineers who have to make that actually real. And I'm luckily not in position to build the plans and everything. But of course, they have a point, and all of that needs to be kept together. Then perhaps two more points on the challenges, internal ones, but also to make them to enable to transform to circularity is full transparency before decision making, bring everything to the table so that you know where the challenges are, where the pain points are, so you can work on that. And then internally also, I think it is because in the end we are a company at the stock exchange. We have to earn money, and we have to overcome a so-called monetized challenge in that regard, so that we also earn our income with the new business model. And this new business model is competing with the traditional business model. And it's somehow slowly the traditional one has to slow down, and at the same time the new one has to build up. But of course it always seems easier to keep with the known, well-known model. So I think this is the internal challenge, but I think we are handling quite well in this transformation.
Thanks, Tara. And I'm asking Supriya, I know that I can only guess that you have similar challenges, internal and external. So if I understand right, Tata has about 800,000 employees as a group. That is, I would say, a big city, if not a country. And Tara was speaking about you kind of doing it in a way that everybody can join. How can this possible with so many employees, and what's the role of communications in that?
Yeah, that's thanks, Petra. Yeah, that's Tata Group. Of course, now when I speak of the group, I speak of it as someone who's been there and as like a proud ambassador. So you're right. It's probably the number of employees would be as big as the population of Frankfurt, or maybe even a little more than that. I think, like any institution, a company, and a company such as Tata Group obviously has some credo, a mission, and you would agree that any company that's serious about transformational changes or sustainability transition definitely has a very inspiring mission. So just to bring things into perspective, Tata Group was established in 1868, and in fact today is the birth anniversary of the Tata Group founder, Jamshedji Tata. So it's really incredible that I'm speaking about the group today. And about 153 years ago, the founder actually said that in a free enterprise, the community is not just another stakeholder, but the very stakeholder in business, but is in fact the very purpose of its existence. So this came from the founder 153 years ago, which was then later actually encapsulated in something called the Tata Code of Conduct, which governs all the Tata companies. So there are about 30 Tata companies present in 100 countries across 6 continents. And that code of conduct is not just about the ethical practices within business, but also, how business should interact with its stakeholders, namely community and the environment. That's one part. The second is the Tata Business Excellence Model, which actually governs the operational excellence of companies, which also includes sustainability and the social responsibility. So I think while it is difficult to get everyone on the same page, I think when you have such a strong foundation, it gives you a very good start to then build upon it. But then a company, or many companies, are not static. You have new employees coming in with new aspirations, and the world is constantly changing. The question to then ask is, how do we keep that credo relevant within these changes that are so rapidly happening? And that's, I think in my experience, what has worked within Tata Group, or, in my previous experience of working at Tata Communications, was enlisting people at every level. So, you will hear this from a lot of sustainability professionals, that change in a company starts from the top. And I agree, leadership is really important. But then at every level, you create these sustainability champions, right to the last level of executives that you are going to work with. And there are many ways to do it. One, for me, I know there are town halls that are spoken about, maybe communication from the CEO, etc. The board needs to be involved. But I think within a company, learning plays a very important role. So, how do you create a culture of learning which is not just business focused, but then it is also about creating that mindset amongst employees at each level to join the movement. And that takes a bit of time, but I think it's, that the challenges can be overcome, but these are some of the things that, that I feel is sort of useful, has worked in my experience, and can be strengthened.
So can I maybe add and then ask a similar question to Tara? So you would say, for me, it sounds like an investment that you actually have to make in people. And I'm asking you, Supriya, is that investment for a change? Because a sustainability strategy is a huge change for a company. And not everybody has the challenge as Tara's company has, that you maybe need to change all products. But maybe Tata has a similar challenge, that it's not just about different ethics or kind of a little bit more transparent value chains, or using some green products, etc., and doing partnerships in CSR and looking out for the communities, etc. Maybe it is really also a transformation of rethinking products and rethinking inputs into products. So it's a huge range of issues. And would you say that is an investment into bringing everybody on board that Tata really, let's say, deliberately did, or is it Supriya's invention and you did it?
No, that I don't think it's my invention. Like I said, given Tata Group, so 66% of the Tata Group is held by philanthropic trusts, and they work on a bunch of sustainability and sustainability issues. But, I think linking it to what you're saying, that whether it's an investment or not, I think it is an investment, and it's a smart investment. I think smart companies like the Tata Group are constantly asking the question, what is our purpose? And, the purpose, and this question can be answered differently at different points in history. Today we answer it differently. 10 years ago, we answered it differently. So when you are reflective and you're introspective as a company, and which the Tata Group is, you constantly ask this question, because you do realize that the relevance of your business is within a particular system, within a particular society, and you're very much a part of what's happening around you. You're not an island in yourself. How do you then make yourself relevant for the people and relevant for your stakeholders? So, the shareholder theory is really old and out. I don't think any company worth its name and salt and whatsoever would say, oh,
I think there are still quite a lot of companies who believe in it.
I'm sure, but I think it's, the more we question it, and the more companies like, where Tara works, or even the Tata Group, for instance, we always asked, how are we serving our stakeholders? What are we doing to empower, enable our stakeholders? That could include your customers, your people in the community, so on and so forth. Because it is an investment in an ecosystem that enables you to do your business, not just as the right to operate, but also ecosystem where different units interact, so businesses interact with different stakeholders, and therefore create something of value to each other. I think that's the kind of investment that I have seen in my work within the Tata Group, because at the end of the day, what we are really trying to create is a society that respects human rights, so the intention is there. I think it's moving towards the intention, and making that intention and turning it into reality is where a lot of companies sort of start stumbling.
And Tara, so it looks as if you also must have experienced a very, let's say, deliberate process of getting everybody on board. Similar to what Supriya was talking about. Can you just give an example? How did the company manage to get towards this roadmap? Was it a top-down decision, and then was it kind of engaging people, or was it just a communication thing? How did it work?
Yeah, thanks. I think all in all, it was a combination of all, and importantly, it's ongoing. It's a continuous process. We had the decision with a long-term goal, but we are constantly running this program, and this is also evolving from time to time. All the time we have to adapt to the new circumstances. But I think it starts with, and as we are a chemical company, we also have a purpose. Our purpose is to make the world a brighter place as a company. That was said many years ago when we were founded. And a lot of things that we are doing is built around that. Now we have the vision to become fully circular. That helps. It really helps direct the strategy of the company. But then as a chemical company and plastic producer, that's not a secret, that we have tremendous challenges facing, and you can read about that every day in the news and everywhere, and we as a company see that. So we just have to face all the environmental challenges and have to provide concrete answers as a company. And this is, I think, the other driver, beside of our intrinsic motivation that we can set as a company. It is the external world which is also driving us to become circular, to provide solution. It is also the shareholders that are having expectations, but I'm also with you, Supriya, that the old concept of shareholders is not enough, and we see now that also shareholders are guided by, for example, taxonomy, which in our sector has defined certain requirements under which our activities are deemed sustainable in the future. And
can I just check, Tara, with you? Have you ever, as a company, been exposed to stakeholders like a campaign against your company, or that put Covestro under pressure, or is it more that you are also kind of collaborating with NGOs or external stakeholders on the issue?
Well, concrete campaigns. I think the sector as such, the chemical industry or the plastic industry as such, of course, is addressed by various campaigns, and rightfully those campaigns are rising, for example, plastics in the ocean, plastics waste in the ocean. And this is something where we also, as companies, have acknowledged, okay, collectively, we have to join forces as well. Each company has to do that. But for example, we are a founding member of the so-called Alliance to End Plastic Waste, an NGO made up not only of plastic companies, but also of plastic consuming companies. And the goal is really to end plastic waste ending up in the environment, working together with local governments, with startups, all the value chain partners that can develop solutions to that. Just 2 days ago, was it yesterday? Yesterday, the United Nations, beside of what is happening in the world in Europe, the United Nations managed to agree on the development of on a global treaty to end plastic pollution. So next to the Paris Agreement, which was delivered 2015, now the UN agreed to work on a similar treaty addressing plastic ending up in the environment and plastic waste.
And would this be seen as, it looks as if it is seen positive by your company? Is your company engaged in this process beyond the alliance?
Yeah, we are engaged through our industry associations, and we applaud the UN for doing that, for agreeing on working on that. Because this is also the frameworks that we need as a company. This is the guidance we as a business also need. Yeah, it's great. And I personally, having worked before very much on climate and also followed very closely the Paris Agreement, which is seems to be top down, but the way to the Paris Agreement made actually the governments all over the world starting to engage their local communities. The governments needed to form their own positions. They get to that by bringing this up in local policies. And I hope with the UN Treaty on Ending Plastic Pollution that the same will happen also on plastic topics, and that policymakers all around the world will start and continue to address it in an adequate way, so that we have a good outcome then in the near future.
Very interesting. So Priya, do you have similar experiences in partnerships, like becoming part of an alliance, that pursues, that could be one form of partnership alliance that pursue a certain goal and actually where different industries actually need to come together? Or do you have other experience where partnerships really made a difference?
I fundamentally believe that, if we want to talk about sustainability transition, we need to talk about partnership. You can't divorce the two, because sustainability challenges are complex. They cannot be resolved. I mean, I'm saying things which probably everyone who is part of this chat today would know. Nobody can solve it alone. No government, no company. So people need to come together, not only because it requires different kind of expertise. I think different people influence different parts of the system. So we do need partnerships. It's for me, and linking it to, I see some people talking about different sustainable development goals in the chat, linking it to SDG 17, which is actually partnerships for the goals, and it really talks about how partnerships are important to reach these 17 goals. So that's the global context. But within that, if I were to talk about, have partnerships enabled my work over the years? Yes, of course. And one particular example I can share is of working on historically marginalized communities in India, and you have the race problem in the West. In India, we have the caste problem, and we have substantial part of the population that belongs to the Dalit community, which these are the historically marginalized communities. And what I've realized that during my time at Tata Group, we worked with different Tata companies as well as NGOs, governments, academia, to create opportunities for people from these historically marginalized communities, by looking at education, employment, employability, entrepreneurship, and even ethnicity. And it's important to mention this because, of all the many problems that we are facing with, caste is a very, very touchy topic in India. The business sector doesn't want to get involved because it brings in politics, it brings in all kinds of religious, tone and tenor and so on. But I think through partnership, what we could manage to do, and this is a program within the Tata Group, it is actually an important element of affirmative action within the Tata Group, where companies join hands to advance the situation of these communities in order to improve their life situations. So that's just one example, and what it did to my company when I was there was it made us think about these new areas, new geographical areas to venture into, new themes to work on. So it's not just a one-way process where the corporates put in money and the other partners sort of implement the program. I think it broadened and enriched our own work. It gave us it gave us another layer to figure out and to think of and to contribute to positively. So for me, someone like you said, I'm completely, passionate about putting together partnerships, working through partnerships, because I think that's the way forward. That's the way to enrich the structures within the corporate sector. I don't think the business can do it alone, or any other entity for that matter.
Wonderful. This is a really good ending. Tara and Supriya, you both have actually talked about what we call collective stewardship. So actually the coming together of different people, different institutions, and the learning together and actually pushing transformation forward. That is absolutely wonderful. I would like to thank both of you a lot, and I hope you're going to stay with us in the next and look at the rest of the program, which is going to be very interesting. So thanks a lot for both of you.
Thanks Petra. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we are moving into the next step of the program, and I am welcoming my colleague Mai ElAshmawy from Cairo. Welcome, Mai. Great that you're here, and great that I can now hand over to you for the most of the rest of the session. You're going to introduce the other contributors, and you're going to introduce a little bit more about partnerships and collaboration. What I love about Mai, I must say, is Mai is you're not only a brilliant facilitator in very difficult situations, but I love your clarity in steering through complexity with very, very challenging organizations, and sometimes even bureaucratic organizations with very, very tough and rigid structures. And even there, things are possible that one may not think are possible. So I'm handing over to you, Mai.
Thank you, Petra, so much. Thank you for this warm introductory, and also thank you and thanks to Supriya and Tara for this session, nice discussions that you took us in the last 45 minutes. And I would like to acknowledge that I'm joining you today from Cairo, Egypt, where structures have been always a passion and a challenge at the same time in our culture since ages. I would say not only in Egypt, but probably all over the MENA region. We always look for a good structure that we can contribute, we can belong, and it satisfies our needs on both individual and on a process level. So it's not an easy thing to answer. And before digging deep on the second session, I would like to see or to listen to your thoughts virtually. I would say listen. My colleague Andy will be posting a link for a Mentimeter, which has actually 2 questions that I would like you to think about them. The first question is, from your experience and from your point of view, what is needed for a successful collaboration between companies, between public sector and the civil society? You can answer, like, say the 3 ideas that pop to your mind quickly for that. And the second question is, what do you think is needed to enhance collective stewardship for change across countries and across organizations. You will find the questions in the link, and I would like to pause for a minute to give you time to think. The 3 quick answers that pop up to your mind. Yeah, answers are starting to come. Oh, amazing. Yeah, I think everyone is having his answer there. Yeah. Think about the 2 questions, okay? The first question is what's needed for successful collaboration between companies, public sector, and civil society work, and what we need to enhance collective stewardship for change across countries and organizations. And while my colleague Andy is collecting the answers, I would like to share with you some of the thoughts that we believe is really important for collaboration structures. We believe that multi-stakeholder collaborations are really considered the laboratories for joining forces, and they are important in leading transformative change. If we need to really do something and to change something, it's needed to cooperate, and this is how we change it in a collective way. And in order to achieve impact, it's important to consolidate our implementation actions and consolidate our decision-making processes and our governance structures. It's important to consider those together with our stakeholders. And this is what we call as modeling a collective leadership approach. This is how we take things further together and leave an impact on our society and our community. And what I think, or maybe a lot of us think, is that collaboration structures really needs to function in a way that keeps and sustains patterns of aliveness. It needs to be going in a, I would say, collaborative way. It needs to have the spirit that we are working together, we are communicating together, we are making the change together. And the importance of these collaboration structures is that it regulates the relationships between the stakeholders. It supports the decision-making process in a transparent way, and also helps in the implementation and measuring the impact of your work together. And when you do this together, when you work with this together in a transparent way, this is how you keep your stakeholders engaged. And this is when you are building a sense of ownership and contributing to ensure the sustainability of the work that you are doing together. We sometimes think, okay, how can we create a structure that becomes powerful enough to get us active? How can we create a structure that collaborates and drive changes in the future, or drive change to the work that we are doing, the initiative or the project that we are implementing together? How can we organize a collective stewardship of change? Well, the answer is not easy, but it's really important when we get to answer such questions is to be honest with ourselves first, to be honest of what do we really want to do with our stakeholders, what do we really want to achieve, and what do we expect as challenges. And when we answer those questions together on a transparent and honest, being honest and being frank, then we will be able to figure out what's the appropriate structure that is needed to lead the transformative change on the ground. Sometimes we choose to have a steering body for our projects or our initiatives. And those steering body is generally are responsible for strategic decisions, budgetary decisions, probably also some sub-technical groups that they are working under their umbrella. And it's really important for such a structure to be empowered by the capacity of collaboration and working together in order that it succeeds and be able to deliver. Before going further, I would like to ask my colleague Andy if he can support and show us the results for the first question, which was about what do you think is needed for successful collaboration between companies, public sector, and civil society works. I can see a lot of words that talks about communication, transparency, trust, respect, understanding, joint trainings, listening to each other. I see trust is coming a lot in different sense. Creativity, mindset shift, common purpose and common needs, humanity. Well, yeah, those are all needed. But those are not easy to be reached. It takes time and it takes effort that you need to pay with your stakeholders in order to ensure the sustainability of this going further. And I would stop here. Thank you, Andy, for that. And I would like to take you for the second session that we have, which have a different perspective for structures. On the first session, we had the experience from talking from a background for a private sector and for a global initiative. On the following session, we are having the experience from the public sector and from the civil society. So our speakers, which I would like to introduce and welcome to the session, is Ms. Eman Mashhour from Cairo, from the electricity regulator in Cairo, where she is the head of the communication department. And she will take us in a journey explaining to us their experience facing structures and collaborating with their stakeholders on the ground in promoting renewable energy. And our second speaker will be Miss Oumaima Selmi, which she is a civil society activist from We Love Kairouan Association in Tunisia. And she will bring us the experience of collaborating on the ground with different civil society organizations and also public and private sectors where they created a structured network working together. And I would leave the floor to them feeling proud that we were able at CLI to positively contribute to their movements and their success. So, Eman, welcome.
Hi, Mai. Greetings, all of you from Cairo. I'm Eman Mashhour. As Mai mentioned, I'm the head of communication in the electricity regulator in Egypt. And I'm very happy to be here in this meeting or event. It's always a pleasure for me to attend events for CLI because we had a very good journey together. It's a one-year journey that I would like really to share with you in a few slides when May gives me the green light to do that.
Go ahead, it's yours.
Okay, so me. Okay, I'm gonna share my slides now. So I'm gonna talk about our journey in transformation in Egypt era. This is the Egyptian electricity regulator. We are known as Egypt era for short. But first, let me talk in a couple of slides about Egypt era, about the electricity regulator in Egypt. Because most of the people don't know what are electricity regulators or what are regulators and what they actually do. So with the electricity regulator in Egypt, it is an agency. It's a governmental agency that aims to organize, follow up, and monitor all the electricity activities. Also ensuring the availability, efficiency, and the quality of electricity at suitable prices. Attracting investments within the framework of free legitimate competition, of course, electricity investments. Also, let me add that in some countries, the energy sector is regulated with a sole agency, like the one agency is responsible for regulating electricity, gas, and water. But the case in Egypt that each one of those energy sectors has its own regulator. To have more deep look about Egypt era, I thought that a look on the structure would make you understand and be engaged with the journey that I'm about to tell you. So Egypt era, the small entity, we are about 80 or 85 employees. We have our board of directors at the head of the hierarchy and an executive chairman and two core departments or two core activities in Egypt era. It's the Central Department for Awareness and Consumer Protection and the Central Department of Licensing and Tariff. In short, a department focusing on the consumer and their welfare, and another department focusing totally on the technical aspects of regulating the electricity sector in Egypt, with three other support departments: legal, finance, and HR and IT. It's worth to mention that this structure is ongoing. There's an ongoing process to change this structure to more fit to our mandates. But I chose to show you this one because this structure was the one there through the journey I'm gonna talk about. Finally, about Egypt era, I thought I should share with you who we serve or our stakeholders, just to have an idea or glimpse of the importance of what we do. So we serve 36 million electricity consumer, 137 investor in generation and distribution of electricity. We have stakeholders, governmental entities, the Ministry of Energy and Renewable, Ministry of Electricity and Renewable Energy, and other governmental entities. Also we have our partners and international partners and associations that we are part of. These are very important stakeholders to Egypt era. Okay, so now let's go to what we are really here for, our story. But let me take you in the time machine a bit back. So Egypt era was formed on 2002, or started hiring on 2002. The vision at that time was to choose a very, very selected group of employees to run the regulator with very specific skills and competencies, if I may say. So at that time, this group of people were chosen at 2002. They were young, still just graduated, and the top management were more older, senior, and experienced people from all over the electricity sector to help those young group of employees to learn and work. This is one part. The other part that at 2015, the law, it's formally known as the law number 87 for the year 2015, known in the media as the electricity law, was issued. This law gave Egypt era a very wide range of authorities and mandates. Also, this law stated that Egypt era should be restructured. So this was the history. Now we began our story in 2018. In 2018, but the year that the children of Egypt era, as we call them, or those small group of employees of Egypt era are now seniors and are taking place as top management. And it's a game changer here. Everything is changed. This small group of people are now top management. There are younger people who are different. They did not live through the formation of the regulator. They are different environment, different language, and we started having some problems in our environment that was a very good environment, known in the whole electricity sector, or the best working environment in the sector. And we started facing challenges. We had a strong image within the sector, as I said, and credibility among our stakeholders, and empowered by the law. So the communication team at Egypt era took an initiative to try to bridge that gap that happened between generations, and to formally restore the working environment, because we were going through a very important stage in the energy of the country. We needed to drive changes, and we had a very ambitious plan, 2035 energy plan, and we have a law that empowered us, and we need to work with all of this. But how can we do this when we lost one of our strengths, which is the working environment? So as a communication team, we prepared a proposal, pointed out the challenges as we see it, and we had a dialogue with the chairman and decided to start creating a collaboration ecosystem within Egypt era to help drive that change within the electricity sector. Among those challenges, I choose to highlight the following challenges. Of course, we're talking in 2018 here. Some of them still challenges, and some of them are less of a challenge. First challenge was that we have a diversified portfolio of stakeholders. There's diversified range of stakeholders with different needs, different interests. We needed to approach them differently. We needed to make them what we call allies or neutralize what we call opponents. So we can drive the change we need to change. So these diversified stakeholders is considered a challenge. We have an renewable energy promotion challenge. As I mentioned, we have an ambitious plan. We had an ambitious plan of 2035, still, of course, ongoing. This plan desired to increase the share of renewable energy in Egypt's energy mix, which is kind of challenge and poses certain stress on the regulator, because it's a regulator job to pave the road and make, to pave the road and make the environment favorable for investors to invest more in renewable energy, favorable for consumers to consider renewable energies as an alternative. So that was a challenge. Also, there is the electricity market. As one of the main reasons why there is a regulator in the first place is that someday in Egypt we may have a liberalized competitive market that each one could choose his electricity provider. And then comes the collaboration between departments. As I mentioned, that we needed to shift the mindset towards culture of appreciation and collaboration. So what we did is, after talking to our chairman, and we had some brainstorming sessions among us and the chairman and some key persons in Egypt era, that we, some of our colleagues, one of the best, came forward and said, hey guys, we had a very good training that may meet your needs and may help achieve this vision. That was the collective leadership certificate, and they did have that training in German. So we said, okay, let's have some correspondences and calls, and we came together and decided to have a fully tailored project for Egypt era, and we chose our objective to be developing capacity at multiple levels and across department to transform the agency into a collaboration ecosystem that in turn drives the transformation in the energy sector. So after deciding on the objective, we should decide on a lot of things, because our goal here was to get together all of Egypt era, the whole group, staff and top management, and that was a challenge. Getting to get the top management, especially the senior ones, abroad, and tell them, come, we will get you a training course to create a common language and to help the regulator to achieve its goals. Some of them were flexible, others, we know everything, we already experienced. We don't need any of what you're saying. But yeah, at the end, we got them on board. And we decided with the CLI team to divide our project or our participants into 3 groups. C3 was the 2 focus departments that we chose, the media and consumer protection. C2 were top management, and C1 were the rest of the staff. Okay, now we decided on the outlines. Now we needed to get going. So our project was a 1-year journey with 6 missions. The first mission was in March 2018, and we call it the engagement mission, where the consultants came, or the CLI team came to Egypt era, had bilateral meetings, listened to us, and we listened to them, and we got together with the main idea of the partnership And because it was a fully tailored project for Egypt ERA, one of the challenges that we encountered in the numerous trainings that we had with partners is the language barrier. I had so many colleagues that are very good and they have a lot of potential, but they have a language problem. So one of our main requests to the CLI team that we need this program to be in Arabic. This posed really stress on them and pressure, but they did it beautifully and smoothly. Full translated manuals, translation to help in the communication between them and the team. Even those of us who can communicate well in English, we decided all to communicate in Arabic to create this harmonizing between all participants and get to reach our goal. Also, the engagement mission, we had a pre-partnership survey that emphasized some of the challenges that we mentioned earlier and more, actually. There were lack of understanding of the vision, for instance. Nearly everyone mentioned that there was lack of communication between departments. So this survey was very insightful and helpful. It helped in designing the whole program. The second mission, the kickoff and the start of the actual work, was in July 2018 with the first workshop of Art of Leading Collectively. 46 of our staff members were there. And it succeeded highly. It highly succeeded because people were don't know what this is and if they were going to be beneficial or some other training that will be some papers set in the drawer and would forget about it. But the action-based approach and the initiatives that each group were asked to suggest and try to achieve it on real grounds on Egypt ERA were successful. People were very engaged, and we started to have some collaboration, some baby steps of collaboration between the departments at that time. By the second workshop at September, the morale was very high. People were so engaged, and we learned more about stakeholders and how to build the container and how to deal with stakeholders, which was very important at that time in the life of Egypt ERA, to learn such things in not only in theoretical way, but to work in it on real case on our stakeholders. But of course, it's a long journey, so it's not all roses and daisies. There were challenges along the way, and we encountered our first challenge by the fourth mission in November. It was a transitional phase in Egypt ERA, so one chairman we knew that he's leaving. We don't know who will come after. It was a time of doubt. The morale went down, people were frustrated. By this mission, the team that were coordinating from the Egyptian side, we thought, is it the end of it? It will fail or what? But then the team handled it actually very professionally and smoothly. That's the beauty of tailored workshops, because it's flexible. It deals with the ongoing situations. So there is a situation now, let's amend some things, add more activities that may help in solving the situation, and that's what happened in the Art of Stakeholder Collaboration Part 2. And by the end, things were a bit better. People were trying to be calmer and more optimistic about what's coming. In the fifth mission, we encountered another challenge. So a new chairman on board. So we have to rewind the whole tape from the beginning and start to tell him the story from the beginning and what are we doing and why are we doing it. But we managed and we got him on board. This mission was interesting actually because it took place within the premises of Egypt Era, and it was a facilitation workshop where the staff and participants learned how to facilitate meetings and they knew that they can make the meeting succeed by good facilitation, and they engaged more. And the initiatives were working very good also at that time, and some of them were actually working, which was very good and gave high morale to the participants. The last mission was in April 2019. It was the Art of Dialogue. We chose a group of 14 with the help of the CLI team, of course, then impartial party, which was the highly committed 14 staff and took the advanced course of the Art of Dialogue in 2019. So, Hello the Journey, a 1-year journey. From this journey, we came out with some results. So, common language was definitely there. You can hear it, and you can, even within the normal talks, the informal talks, it was there. Also, through the project, several initiatives were created, and more than one already achieved. So one of them was finalizing the net metering regulation. Net metering regulation is a set of regulations for renewable energy. It means that you in your home, you can produce energy and then give it to take what you need, and what left you can give it to the grid and take money for it. And this was an ongoing, of course, but people committed to finalize it in a timely manner, and they did. There were several awareness campaigns, initiatives, and we did most of them. We had campaigns in several governorates. One of them was in Aswan in Egypt, and was very successful. We had an awareness campaign to the banks, awareness campaign of the regulation of renewable energy for the banks who finances the renewable energy projects, just to make them on board with us with the regulations, so they can better analyze the projects. This was one good campaign. There were also campaigns for the consumers, social media campaigns, and some other campaigns on the website. There were also a Consumer Protection Committee. This committee was between the Consumer Protection Department and the DISCOs, the distribution companies. The aim of these meetings were to gap the differences between us and the distribution companies, tell them about the newest regulations in consumer protection and what we detect from the complaints that we get. This was going on and then stopped. Through this our project, people or participants took it on their own as an initiative to bring it back, and it's still, the meetings are convening till now. Digital, I'm running out of time.
Yeah. May I ask you, yes, to try to finish within 2 minutes?
Then we have, of course, the digitalization transformation is ongoing. Here, very fast, I liked really to share with you this photo from the last session and the certificates, because picture is worth 1,000 words, and those people are the one who's driving the change now in Egypt Era. Finally, just to keep you informed, currently, after this year, we are focused more on stakeholder engagement. We are more engaged in multi-stakeholder dialogue. We are getting to know the NGOs nowadays because we had a little encounter with them. Also, the digital transformation is a national project that we are committed to it, and it's going on very good. And of course, more focus on RE policies. Actually, recently we issued a couple of regulation for the electric vehicles charging stations and other RE policies to cope with the upcoming COP27 that we, of course, Egypt is hosting. I'm sorry if I've been too long, and I hope this was beneficial and not so boring. Thanks very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Eman, so much, and thank you for explaining to us how you take it from inside to outside, that you wanted to prepare your inner house first before going out to your stakeholders. And I can see some questions coming, but 4 questions I would like to Oumaima to present. And then I would love to have together the questions, the 3 of us in discussions, because I feel like there could be, I would say, some screening here and there between the 2 cases. So Oumaima, would you mind presenting? Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mai. Hello, everyone. My name is Oumaima, and I'm a civil society activist in Kairouan, Tunisia. Okay, I will share my slides then. Okay, so We Love Kairouan is a civil society organization of young engaged people founded after the revolution in March 2012. Kairouan. Yeah.
Can you make it full screen, please?
Yeah, sorry, sure. Okay, so and our goals is to contribute to sustainable development initiative in the city, Kairouan, and the region, and to push for positive exchange based on dialogue between local actors. And through this engagement, we want to contribute to sustainable development in Kairouan and making the city more environmental friendly, as well as economically and culturally attractive to visitors, and also for us as citizens. So actually our journey with the CLI started in 2017 with some trainings with the CLI. We work on a project called Abwab al-Medina. It's the Medina Gates. The Medina, actually, it's the old city in Kairouan. So I will talk about how the journey started and some of the challenges that we faced at the beginning. The thing is, here in Tunisia, and let's talk about Kairouan, that we don't have the experience to work on projects together or to work on solving some problems together. Like, sorry. Okay, I need some time. Okay, actually, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
It's actually, I'm really glad to share our journey with you because it was really amazing story and a successful story for us, and we are really proud about it. So every time I try to share the story, I need to remember everything about that. So yeah, that will make me really stressful. So when the journey started, the challenge that we faced was to convince our stakeholders to work together on a very long, for us, a journey, because our project was for 2 years. And the problem is, what we used to do is we have money, we do some initiatives, some projects, we worked on some activities, but like sitting together and talking about what we need, what our country needs, what our city needs, it's not a thing that we used to do. So when we start talking about our project and telling people we need to sit together and to discuss that, they always ask if we have money to solve the problem. Oh, there is this place, we need money for this place to work on it and all that stuff. And when we said, actually, we don't have money to solve problems. We want to sit together with you to discover what we really need. They was like, okay, but this is a waste of time. There is a real problem we need to solve. The thing that helped us that we keep meeting with people and talking about the approach, and also give the example of the project that CLI worked on here in Cairo before, and how successful it was. So they give it a try, and they came for the first workshop. And here it was actually the first time for some of the citizens sitting together with some of people from the administrations. And the thing is, a lot of people from the administration, when they are a participant in an event, they are there to give a speech or maybe give some information or to talk about something they know in the administration. But some of them said that this is the first time we participate in a workshop where we don't need to do a speech, we just need to discuss things with citizens and some activists from the civil society. So we start doing a lot of workshops and also some trainings for our stakeholders. And that was day by day, and after every workshop, like we can see the engagement of them, and we start to convince them that this approach will help us to achieve something in this city. The thing that helped a lot that in our workshops and our training, we give the space to everyone to speak up and to share their thoughts. We respect everyone there, and we give the same chance to the participant to speak up, like people from public sector, the citizens, the young people from civil society, and like everyone, which is like make everyone feel like my opinion or my idea is really important. And yeah, I can contribute to make a real change here. So that helped a lot. And this is because of the, how to say, the facilitation guides or the tools that we use in the CLI, with the CLI approach, and how we make sure to hear everyone. So I don't know, I'm trying, actually it was that the main thing is to convince people actually that their opinion are important and their ideas are important. Even if you think it's a small thing or it's not gonna make a big change. We notice also in the workshops that sometimes different administration work on to solve the same problem, but they don't know that they are working on the same problem, because each administration try to solve the problem by themselves in one perspective. But when they meet in the, like I can see that some of our stakeholders, they met at the workshop and they start talking, actually I'm working on that, and they said, actually we are working on that too, so let's meet up and discuss this together. So here we start, how to say, build a personal relationship between our stakeholders, which has actually helped a lot in our project, because building a personal relationship between the stakeholders, how to say, encourage them to be, to work with us and to be in the trainings and to be with the workshops. And they start understanding how important to discuss things together. So day by day, we start feel how the approach doing a great job to strengthen the relationship between us as civil society and the different sectors. Okay, I think I have some, this is actually one of our amazing pictures that we are using every time we talk about the project, because this is how we start, and also this is what we want to do, is to build this connection between different sectors and even people. And I think we succeed to achieve that on both level, on let's say professional level, and on achieving our goal from the project, and also on personal level. So this is here our stakeholders from different sectors, and also there is the team from the CLI. It was a training. Yeah. And then actually what helped us a lot also is that the CLI approach encouraged us to build a human relationship, if we can say, with our stakeholders. It's not just about achieving goals and working on something. It's more about a human being. It's also about building a trust between us. And this is actually was really helpful for us, because this was an event we did in our association local, how to say that, yeah, in our space in Kirwan. We invited them and we drink some coffee and we eat good things, good food, and we start talking. And this is make us more close to the people. It's not just like this is Mr. X from this administration. No, this is a person that we really appreciate his knowledge, and we appreciate him as a person. And this is actually support our work, because they really start feeling like they want to support us as an association and also as a young people to achieve something in our city. Yeah. Here it's a training. This is our last picture in the project. At the beginning, it was really hard to convince people to come to the trainings. It was hard to convince them like that we as a small association in the city, we're gonna do, like when we tell them we're gonna do training, they said that we attend a lot of those trainings. It's like just giving us some information and all of this stuff, but day by day, at the end of the journey, this was a training that they asked for. They said, actually, we believe that your trainings are really effective, and it start affect us even in a personal level. So we need your support to give us more trainings with the CLI team. And it was like, here we understand how strong the relationship we build and how strong the trust we build with our stakeholders. And actually, they still, even now after 2 years, they still ask us for trainings with the CLI. They still ask about the updates, if the CLI have any different other project in Tunis. So, yeah. The thing is, what makes us believe that we build a strong network is, even after 2 years, after this picture, we're still in connection. We're still seeing our stakeholders in our association. They still support us with the different projects, and they still ask for us. They still ask if we need anything, if we need any support. So let me say in the end of this small, short presentation that at the beginning, it was hard to convince them that young people and young activists can really make a big change in the city. But now, I think they believe in us. They believe that together we can do an amazing thing, because after 2 years, we succeed to achieve the goals. And actually this week, the update was that one of our stakeholder, he is Mr. Murad from the delegation, the tourism delegation. He took everything about our project. It's actually, the project is to work on an old market in the Medina and to rebuild this market. he took all the information and he go to he's keep looking for a financial thing to our project for 2 years now, and finally we get the chance to maybe we will maybe we will start working on achieving to rebuild this souk. And they invited us to be in a conference to speak about our project. The thing is, me and my colleague, when we went there, we didn't need to talk about our project because our stakeholders were there, and like 3 or 4 of them, they start talking about the project and defending the project. They are they are the same ones that we were trying to convince them to be with us. They're now defending our project. They are now the one who speak about the project and how important to work on that. So like we were really smiling and looking to each other like this is amazing, that we are what we were looking for, because now actually we can just go and work on something different. We did an amazing work with the stakeholders, and now they will, continue the journey by themselves. So yeah, I hope that short presentation were presenting the story. Actually, there is a lot of details. I mean, it's 2 years. Yeah, I will wait for your questions, and yeah, thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Oumaima, so much, and thank you for sharing with us the story. And I think one of the questions that was keep popping in my mind that I would like to ask you and Eman, actually, we can start with Eman, is what was the moment that you felt that collaboration structures are really important? What was the situation? Like you felt its value, that you have it, and you were able to take it further. Yeah.
Well, I guess when you ask this, one thing comes to my mind is stakeholder engagement. So we had a good stakeholder engagement projects after this project. People within Egypt ERA they know what the importance of building a good stakeholder engagement processes. And as I mentioned, the presentation, formally the stakeholders come to Egypt ERA all the time. They have good personal relationships with the people working there. But now we are thinking more formal stakeholder engagement actions, like the public consultations. We already have public consultation. It was a huge success, and we have the committees like the consumer protection. We have regular meetings with the stakeholders, especially the investors within Egypt ERA. We go to campaigns on the ground to reach the stakeholders that can't come to Egypt ERA, the consumers, for instance. So I think the most important things came out from this is realizing the importance of stakeholder engagement and working on that specific area.
Thank you. And Oumaima, what comes to your mind when we ask this question? Like, what did collaboration structure help you during your processes? I know you shared a lot of stories, and it looks like now your stakeholders are becoming the defenders, your warriors in your work and promoting your work. But I would take you back in time and ask you, when did you feel that, thanks God, we have this stakeholder collaboration moment, Yeah.
Actually, the first thing that comes to my mind when we talk about the most time of that how strong the collaboration was is when we create our prototype because during the project we worked on prototype with our stakeholders. Let me explain shortly. The initiative was to clean up a part of the Medina, a neighborhood in the Medina, and do some painting and put some flowers and plants and all of that stuff with our stakeholders. So the idea was coming from our stakeholders. And actually it was an amazing experience, an amazing initiative with them. And a lot of people shared some stories and videos and pictures on social media. The radios talk about this initiative, and all that's even the local radios and the TVs in Tunisia talk about this small initiative. The thing is, after like 2 or 3 days, we cleaned up the neighborhood and do all this stuff. Some people stole our plants and they do some damage in this place, and we was actually disappointed, and we was maybe this doesn't work here. But the thing is, our stakeholders take the lead to fix this. Our stakeholders start defending our work. Again, our prototype, they collect the money to buy new plants, to buy a new to paint again the walls that people wrote on it. So actually, we just stay there watching our stakeholders taking the lead to fix things for us. So yeah, here we said, I think we did the work. So yes, I think this is the most moment that we believe that we succeed in doing great work.
Thank you, dear, so much. Another question that is popping also in my mind, and it was coming from some of our participants, that what's for Eman, what was the type of challenges when you were going out to the public after like engaging with your stakeholders? What type of challenges that you face in promoting the usage of renewable energy? And how did collaboration structures help you to overcome such challenges?
Well, let me tell you a challenge that encounters any governmental entity when it goes to certain stakeholders, or the lack of trust, actually. So some stakeholders see you as a governmental entity that you want to take something from them, rob them in some way. Yeah. So this lack of trust is a challenge. Actually, this is a challenge that we were working on in Egypt ERA for quite a long time to build credibility among certain stakeholders. So for the investors, we already have our credibility with them intact, but some of the consumers, especially the consumers, this is not the case. So it's been years now that we are trying to build credibility among them. And I think we, in the case of renewable energy is a very different story, because the renewable energy in Egypt till now, it's not a widely known thing. It's being known to be an expensive source of energy. So when you come to talk to stakeholders, especially consumers, about renewable energy, you need certain strategies to balance that is an expensive source of energy to other benefits. That thing you are working on, of course, now, because as I mentioned, we have a target of increasing the mix, the renewable energy mix within our energy mix by 2035, and this is actually a huge target that it's a challenge in itself. Also, we are part of the world. We are going with the same directions of more sustainable and clean energy. So we have new renewable energy schemes entering it's a hot topic now, like green hydrogen. It's a hot topic of working with a lot of entities like the EU and other entities in this in issuing the certificate of origin for green hydrogen, and also producing energy from waste to energy projects. So renewable energy is a very hot topic now, and it takes a lot of work to promote the idea of renewable energy. But I feel that in the recent couple of years, it is not so weird on the ears of a lot of stakeholders, the issues of producing energy from PV, as we have in Egypt, one of the biggest solar parks in the Ben Aswan, and we have a farm in Zafarana, 4 wind farms. So people are get acquainted to the idea and they are ready to accept it. I guess it's a challenge, but it is a challenge that we are working on.
Thank you, Eman. And I think a final question that I would take it for Oumaima. Oumaima, I understand that you, from your talks, that you're still keeping the relations with your stakeholders, right? May I ask you about, is there future plans that you are getting to work with the network that you had created for We Love Kairouan? And how do you intend to take this in the future?
Yeah, actually, as I said, even after 2 years, we still have the same strength of connection with them. So the updates, as one of our stakeholders suggests an idea of a project we can work on here in the city. And we said, why not? Let's give it a try. And we worked on the idea and we developed it together with the support of our stakeholders. We talked to them and we suggest the idea and they said we are ready for it. So actually this month we started a new project with the same network. Of course, we're gonna add some of people that we're gonna need, but we're gonna start working with them for 10 months. Yeah, it was actually so smooth and so easy. We don't need to convince them because they already convinced with the approach, and that together we can do great work. So yes, I'm really proud that how easy it was. Like we said, we have an idea. What do you think? We work together. And I said, yeah, of course, we did it before and we can do it again. So yeah, and having a network, a strong network, it makes things more easy for us as an association to achieve goals and to make a change. So yeah, I think I hope that I answered the question. So.
Absolutely. Well, at this time, I would like to thank you both for sharing your stories and showing us the case that structures are really important, and having a collaboration structure with our stakeholders and keeping the relation with them and trying to achieve this level of trust between your stakeholders is really important and impacting the work for the future that you are doing. Thank you, Eman. Thank you, Oumaima, so much. And I think this is bringing us to the end of our session today. Petra, right? Yeah.
Yes, thanks a lot, Mai.
Okay.
Thanks a lot, Mai. Thank a lot to the contributors. I love it. I really loved it because it is taking us onto a journey of possibility. And I think that is the most important part of structures. So thank you also, Mai. And for now, I would say if I wrap up the session, I think we had a good learning journey. And what is the most important part about collective stewardship is that we look at doing the or making the impossible possible by trying things out that some people would have probably said, it's impossible. If you have listened to Oumaima, you will probably have realized that the administration was rather skeptical on any such kind of youth initiatives, because that's not the leading role for youth that is being expected. And similarly to the Egyptian regulator, you would have said this may have been such a bureaucratic organization that it's absolutely impossible to bring anything soft in like collective leadership or collaboration. And it showed it is possible. And if I go back to Tara and to Supriya, it is so interesting to see how companies today actually have abolished, or not completely abolished, but like dropping the idea that only shareholders are important. And what is so important that goes for Tara and Supriya and for all the other, the other two contributors, is that it's always about people really taking the initiative and getting together and doing things differently. And then it is often about a systematic approach, because changing a company or developing a roadmap for circular economy in the chemical industry is not something, that can be decided at breakfast and then it's being implemented. So it is, apart from the getting going and seeing possibilities where other people don't see possibilities, it is really also building systematic processes of stakeholder engagement, of getting together, of collaboration, of dialogue, and that is so interesting, of meeting people that may, let's say, normally work in silos, and creating communication channels between people that now open up completely new possibilities. And what is even important that we could also, see at the level of the Chiron example, is that when this collaborative process and the dialogues and whatever kind of workshops these are, when they really work, then it creates a network of people, both within an organization, like we had the example of Tara and Supriya, or the example of Egypt era, or between different stakeholders that are not part of one organization, but where, for example, in Tunisia, the youth association actually became a driver of connecting people in a different way, and also of building a network with different other youth organizations. So the issue of network is just extremely important in our way of bringing about collective stewardship for change. So with that, I would like to wrap up the session and thank everybody again. And as a quick outlook to the next session, we're going to have next week, same hours, we will have a session on innovation. And the question now is, what are the innovative approaches, that can really help us into sustainability? And what is the feature of innovation that is so absolutely important for the future? And we take different lenses, and it's going to be very exciting because these are very, very different lenses. We have, as a keynote conversation, we have with us Mariana Bozesan, and she is the author of the book Integral Investing. That's also a report to the Club of Rome. And what's special about Mariana is that she is an investor, so she talks in practice and theory. And at the same time, she lives a very, very different approach to investing. So innovation becomes, has a different connotation for her. And she's also a technology expert. So we will then have we will then have Tarek, who's active in the MENA region, and he's actually an entrepreneur. So it really fits very well with Mariana. Tarek is an entrepreneur and looks at changing companies for sustainability or towards sustainability in the MENA region. And then we jump into a totally different direction, but this is really exciting. We are going to have with us Lainey Thomas, and she is from the Asian Development Bank, and particularly an expert in fragile contexts, where we would possibly say, what has innovation to do with fragile context. And we will learn that that is so extremely important, not only in the way things are approached, but also in what we can actually learn from fragile contexts. So this is hopefully going to be really exciting. And the little news that I also have to bring in, I got the information that today, just 1 hour ago, our new book on transformation literacy got published. It's an open access book. And I hope that you get the link shared in the chat. This is a compilation of very, very different authors with very different points of view. And I think it's going to be an exciting read. And because it's an open access, you can freely choose and check out different articles that may fit your interest or may fit your purpose. So with that, big thanks to everybody, big thanks to the participants, and hope to see you again next week, same time, for the session on innovation. Thanks a lot.